Now that the wings are all done, let's attach these. Hopefully the wire that we used with the two ends coming out actually work. And the clay's not too heavy that it just falls off. Let's see what we can do. As I was doing this, I was really thinking that I should have built the wing armature right into the other armature itself, just for more stability and more support, because as the clay was very heavy for the wing, well, the wires kept kind of like falling and bending. So here I had to pack underneath it with clay and then kind of try and fuse it into the sculpture itself. And then for the end of the wing, making a big old bony joint that helps move the wings. Now to start sculpting the details in this back. And now I have an idea that I want like these noodles, or I guess tentacles, to come out of the back somehow, and that's how these wings emerge. So I'm thinking like maybe we add like little exhaust ports where the tentacles come out, or we just add a ton of little strudels coming out of his back that kind of flow into the wings. So that's how the wings are made. I don't remember how much clay we added to the top here, so I don't know where that armature is, but I did use just clay, so it should be quite a bit. Maybe we can have like the ribs exposed, or the spine. Ooh, maybe like a cool spine. So I do want to have like these tentacles coming out, like attaching to the wing, like, you know, it formed it. But I gotta texture the whole body first before we do that. Or else if I do that, then I'm not gonna be able to get in there and texture the body. So maybe like a big old spine, maybe like a big hump of a spine, you know? Then off to the side of the spine, we can have like little ports where like the tentacles come out of. So it'd be like a spine, see the spine, and then like a little indents of where you can see the tentacles coming out and attaching to the wing. We have to remember this is like an eldritch beast, you know, a celestial god, and we're following a very specific rule, and that is the rule of cool. I mean, it doesn't have to look like, you know, oh, the anatomy is perfect and all that. No, as long as it like seems like, okay, that probably could work, then, you know, we're good. So this is where I took a different approach. As I was building this spine column up, I decided to go that route, making like this like really weird gigantic spine instead of just having these tentacles come out. It's always good to experiment with different ideas and not be locked into just one idea that you are going to follow. Sketch it out, have some fun. Okay, so with the ribs, like this thing is like a spine, and it's kind of like breaking off into two parts. So I'm thinking maybe have some ribs sticking out like that. Maybe even like it's connecting to that area. Or if this thing like, you know, grew, maybe the ribs kind of broke off from the spine area. We got to make it look like a spine vertebrae, but then in like this section it's going to be a little mutated because the spine kind of split into two, like one down here, then this one's going to be another one flowing up. I'm going to use little globs of clay to represent where the spine's going to go. I don't want this to be symmetrical. I want it to have kind of like a little curve, like the spine's having fun. You'll notice that the spine isn't straight, it's more asymmetrical, and that asymmetry is very important so that your sculpture doesn't look boring. Yeah, we have to rethink the whole rib thing, because for each spine or column, there has to be a rib on each side. I mean, it doesn't have to be. I can do whatever I want because it's my creature, but still kind of want to follow the rules a bit. Maybe even have like some of them broken off. You know, this thing's like old, ancient. It's been around. I was gonna do like little vents for where the tentacles come out and make the wings. I wonder if that'll be too much in one spot. Having too much go on in one spot, like texture, can really make your sculpture feel busy to the human eye. So you want to make sure that you put in areas of rest so that the sculpture doesn't feel too busy. You know, I might just I just might put like a shit ton of ribs in the back here. Small ones here, kind of poking out, then here. And then if we wanted to, we could add like peeled skin across like the ribs. This is my favorite way to the sculpt, is like, I have an idea, but then I kind of just like sketch it out in clay as I go. Like I'll do like an initial like small sketch, and then I'll make a bigger version of that. As I'm progressing through the sculpt, I'll just kind of like, you know, come up with different ideas for it instead of sticking to one. I would highly recommend doing some clay sketching. You know, if you can't really draw, grab some clay, sketch out your idea, and then you can just build it bigger. It really pays off to have reference that is 3D, that you can hold in your hand. Also got to be careful with this spine because there's no armature. It's just all clay. It's a good thing about this clay. It cools down and becomes like wax. So, contrary to popular belief, the monstrous life forms inhabiting Darkenrock were not created through direct exposure to the Moondragon's breath. Direct exposure is universally fatal. Instead, the crimson bloom at the North Pole slowly saturates the planet with microscopic particles originating from the dragon's red mist. Over countless generations, these particles became embedded within Darkenrock's ecosystem. The result was not mutation. It was guided evolution. Creatures grew much larger. Predators became more efficient. Entire species developed features seemingly designed for survival against threats that never previously existed. Many of the biologists now suspect the planet itself has been undergoing a gradual transformation for millennia. Darkenrock is not evolving naturally. It is being cultivated. Now, what is the purpose of this cultivation? Well, that remains unknown. The most disturbing theory suggests that he who orbits is not guarding the planet from escape. It is guarding something that has not finished growing. Now, is this moon dragon the final horror, or could it simply be like a caretaker tending to a garden of nightmares beneath it? So I went off in a different direction. Instead of having like the tentacles coming out, I went with this giant looking spine. It's really wicked. It's kind of like two spines, one here, one on the bottom. I'm debating if I want to add rib cages, you know, ribs connecting to the spines, or have them broken. I also got to think of how this creature would work, because the neck or the head is supposed to go inside the body, kind of like a turtle. But then we have this giant spine, and if it has ribs on it, then that doesn't really make sense, unless they're like broken ribs. So I got to do some thinking, but we'll come back the next day, explore some ideas in clay. So I'll see you then. Every breath taken beneath Darkenrock skies carries microscopic remnants of the moon dragon's red mist. These particles have settled into the planet's soil, oceans, and atmosphere for countless generations, becoming inseparable from life itself. Unlike direct exposure to the moon dragon's breath, which results in, well, catastrophic and horrendous death, prolonged exposure alters life at a pace the body can endure. Generation after generation, these subtle changes accumulate, steering evolution towards forms that would never emerge naturally. No two civilizations have been altered in exactly the same way. Each lineage carries its own inheritance from the bloom. Though genetically descended from ordinary humans, they can no longer be classified as such. Centuries beneath the crimson bloom have rewritten them. Their skeletons possess a density several times greater than baseline human bone, while remaining remarkably resistant to fracture. Muscle fibers grow thicker and more efficient, allowing individuals to perform feats of strength impossible for their ancestors. Skin becomes denser, resisting to cuts and punctures and the hostile environments of Darkenrock. Many individuals stand far taller than ancient humans, their bodies built to survive a world where everything else has grown larger alongside them. To the descendants of the carpenter, these traits are no longer considered mutations. They are simply what it means to be human. There are rare individuals whose bodies evolved in far stranger ways, known among the tribes as the Crimson Adepts. These individuals possess an unusual affinity for the lingering particles of the red mist that are suspended throughout the atmosphere. To outsiders, their abilities resemble magic.
researchers reject this explanation. Their nervous system appears capable of interacting directly with the bloom itself, allowing them to gather, compress, and manipulate the crimson particles into devastating forms. The energy is not summoned, it is already everywhere. The depths merely command what the Moondragon left behind. Rarer still are individuals whose bodies evolve complete mastery over their own living tissue, known as flesh shapers. Their nervous systems no longer distinguish between muscle, bone, skin, and conscious thought. Every cell obeys intention. Bones may erupt through the forearms to form serrated blades. Hands can elongate into hooked talons. Thick plates of hardened skin spread across the body like living armor before retreating moments later. Entire limbs may reshape themselves into tools or weapons suited to the immediate need. Everything is borrowed from the individual's own body. The transformation can be agonizing. Many of the flesh shapers often bear permanent scarring, where repeated restructuring has left their bodies partially fused into unnatural forms. The longer a flesh shaper lives, the less they resemble the descendants of humanity. So, went a different direction. I added in the rib cage. Not done yet, but we got it in there. And I have to say, this looks absolutely wicked. You know, we got some spines on here that are like fused with other ones, some broken. Now, my whole idea is like when the head comes into the body, this whole section, this outer layer is like almost like a hard shell of some sort. And this entire spinal ribcage area kind of shifts down towards the bottom of the moon, which pulls the head downwards into itself. That's the idea. One of my viewers over on Twitch gave me the idea. Yes, I want to follow the rule of cool, but also want to think about how that mechanism is going to work with the ribs. Essentially, I was just going to do the rib, the spinal column, and that was it. No ribs, no nothing. Right? It was just going to be like a loose, floppy skin. And then one of them mentioned about like, why not just the whole thing shifts down? And I'm like, okay, that's a cool idea. And then I thought like, well, if this is like an outer shell, like a hard outer shell, and this actual body is kind of like, you know, inside, maybe like it molts this the outer shell off at some points, something like that. But that is the way we went with it, and it looks, I don't know, man, it just looks so sinister, wicked, because I did want to give him like a hump as well. So instead of just like building up clay and making like flesh and just kind of like normal looking, turn that hump, exposing the spine and the ribs, and then even like if you look through the ribs, you can see a lot of fleshy bits, some soft tissue and things like that, and a second spinal column. Once I got this side done, I'm like, yes, we're going that way. So we'll still have to add the missing pieces for the vertebrae along this side, and we'll have to like smooth it out and then come back and do some extra little detail. And then after that, we just have, well, we just have the body, the moon to texture. For the moon, I was trying to think of what the moon is going to look like. Then I remembered I actually have real life reference. My werewolf sculpture. Not mine. I bought this at a convention. Fantastic artist. I forget the person's name, but this is like a werewolf from American Werewolf in London, and he did it on top of the moon. And he did a fantastic job on this moon, so I'm going to use this as reference to make my moon instead of just looking for pictures of the moon. But if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that follow button. I put out a video once a week following the process of whatever I'm creating. It could be clay sculpture like this. It could be Halloween props, horror props. And I try and release a video once a week following the process, giving tips and tricks, basically how to go about making your creatures or props. And after this guy, I'm going to be moving on to making a Halloween prop before the Halloween season starts. Halloween's still pretty far away, but what I want to do is going to take a little bit of time to complete. Hopefully I can get it done. Yeah, if that sounds like it's up your alley, be sure to follow, leave a like, and as always, I'll see you all in the next video.